Hi, I'm Megan. Thank you for coming to practice with me today. It's been a long week of sitting, doing lots of things on my website. So I thought I'd show you some of the exercises, the movements that I do to stretch out my hip flexors. So if you're like most people, the longer you sit, you'll find yourself starting to just sort of cave, which is not only not good for your respiration because there's no space for you to breathe, but also your hip flexors get pretty tight and shut down. So these are some of the really simple things we can do. And just to understand what that means, I've got Mr. Bones here with me today. So very simple. If Mr. Bones were going to sit in a chair all day like this with his two legs bent, that is the hips in flexion. So the flexor muscles are what brings your leg forward versus when we say the hip is an extension when it's behind us. So turning sideways, flexion, and extension. So very simple understanding. And think of the main way we feel flexion and extension that's really healthy for us and balanced is walking, right? So when the foot is behind us, the back foot is an extension. The front foot is long and neutral, and then as we come to step forward, the leg comes up to a flexion position, but not to the degree when we're seated. So seated is really what messes us up. So if you're like me, we've been sitting a lot, sit even more. We're going to start in a chair. You also need a block today, so make sure you have a block handy. We're going to do a couple things standing, but we're going to start in a chair. Very simple. If I've been sitting for a long time, we're going to scoot ourselves to the left side of the chair as far as you can go so that it feels like just one butt cheek is hanging off there. And then you're going to take your left leg and step it slightly behind you. So slightly behind you might be foot still on the floor, or if you're not tight through your hip flexors, you might be able to get it way back there, but don't force it. So the idea is you're stretching the top of the thigh, but find where that's comfortable for you. And so maybe start with the knee bent first. Take your hands to your hips. We're going to move with our breath. So first, feel how you're breathing. Feel your inhalation, up and out, and feel your exhalation, in and down. And then we're going to sort of bring ourselves into that closed mode that we might have been sitting on, but we're also going to open the opposite way. So as you exhale, close and collapse. Bring your pelvis back and your shoulders forward. You'll feel your front body muscles shorten, back body lengthen. And then as you inhale, lift your heart up, feel your back body shorten and your front body expand. So if you're used to cat and cow in yoga, this is very similar. We're doing a cat and cow, or it's for the spine. We're doing extension and flexion of the spine, but we can do it right in the chair. And so I'm starting with my knee bent, but I'm going to start to take that leg back a little bit more to get more stretch through that thigh. And notice I'm half-cheeked on the chair. So see how far your thigh wants to go back. So it's really best to address the thigh along with the pelvis and just moving that pelvis back and forth. If this is feeling really super good and you want a little more stretch, then what you can do is, because this front leg is in flexion, you can take that front leg and bring it up on the chair. So then we almost have like a seated pigeon pose. This leg could be here, and you can still do those tilts. Make sure your chair is solid, no wheels, don't want to be rolling around. So just finding the movement you can, inhaling and exhaling. So foot's up there, or maybe it's not. Then we get to take this thigh into external rotation, take it out to the side, and abduction. So just changing the shape of the leg if we're always sitting in that 90-degree angle. And just feeling your spine move. And notice as you're moving your spine, the reaction, the response from the legs. The back thigh, that front leg. And just do a few more here. We're going to keep this position. If the leg's good there, leave it there. Otherwise, take it back down to the floor, and we're going to do a rotation now. So, and you may find you can start to take that back leg a little further back. So now, on exhalation, we're going to rotate to the right. And if you want, you can hold your chair, rotate to the right on exhalation, and inhale and come back. And so what I'm going to try to do as I'm exhaling is I'm going to let this left thigh rotate inward. I might even let my heel come up off the floor, so I'm rotating the thigh with the spine. This whole left hip is rotating to the right and then coming back. So instead of just my waist turning, that would be just waist, it's this whole line through my left foot. Rotate and come back. If you want to do it to your breath, it's exhale into the rotation and inhale and sit on that right butt cheek and exhale into the rotation. Take your time. If it feels really good, so you might be noticing now even more stretch through that left leg. We don't even have to get out of the chair to do this one, right? We probably should, and we will. But if you're just looking for a quick little movement to open up and change, to balance the shape of the body when we've been sitting a lot, this is great. Do a few more here. If when you're moving, at any point you want to stop and hold, you can. So I'm going to hold that twist for a few breaths. I'm pressing into the ball of my left foot to really lengthen out. I can feel the space in the front of my hip socket, and that's what you want. That's when you know that leg's in extension. Think of that ball and socket, it's actually in the front, and just making that space. Mr. Bones has got the space going too. Breathe into that space in the top of the thigh. You might be doing this with your leg up here. If that feels okay, you can be here and doing it. Notice the rotation through your spine as well. And then let that go. Take both legs out and sit. So not into your chair. We'll come into a nice tall posture on the sits bones, ears over shoulders and shoulders over the hips, and place your heels right under your knees. And just notice if anything feels different. This to me is always such a powerful time to feel into your body. What feels different? Do the two legs feel any different from one another? Take a few soft, quiet breaths. And then we'll be switching sides. So you're going to need to shift all of your weight over towards the right side so that basically your right butt cheek's just hanging off the floor. I need to move my chair a little bit. But you're still supported. You don't want to feel like you're falling off, right? That left thigh and butt cheek is there, and you might place your left heel right underneath your knee. Take your right leg just a little bit back. See how that feels. And then think of the spinal movement of the cat-cow or the flexion extension. So exhalation. Let yourself go where we may have been seated, which is here, but take it further beyond where you normally are. Really overemphasize the shortening of the front body and the lengthening of the back body as you breathe out. Then inhaling, lengthen the front body and shorten the back body. And exhale. So even though we're focusing on movements from the pelvis and the spine, the legs are feeling it. And it's always good to adjust the spine too. And I believe it's better to adjust the pelvis and the spine before the legs. So see how that feels to move your pelvis and your spine. If this leg feels okay, you can start to take it further back behind you. So I like to reach it out a little bit more. Just seeing where it's comfortable for you. And notice as you take it back, it's going to maybe change or limit the way that you're able to move your spine. I know now when I come forward, I really feel that stretch through the top there. So you can keep a bend in your knee. Feel that space. Breathe into your chest on the top of the inhale. Exhale, collapse the chest. There's that option, if it's there for you, to take the left leg and place it up on the chair so my pinky toe side is supported then on the chair. And then still doing that same motion. This is optional. Just getting that left leg externally, the thigh bones externally rotating and going away from the midline. So we say that's abduction. So just changing the shape of the thigh, that's all, right? Changing the shape after we sit in one position for too long. Moving your spine. Feel that flow of the spine. Being sensitive and aware as things start to shift. And just moving enough to feel your tissues changing shape. Feel the skin stretching. Last one. All right. And then we'll do the rotation. So I'm going to start with this foot down. You might start with this leg closer if you were able to get it further back. So now you can either hold the chair or you can take your hands across. But notice the difference. The first few twists I do, I purposely do just the rotation through my torso. So I feel that exhalation, that's just my torso. My hips and my legs aren't really changing shape. Inhaling, coming back. But then what I want to do is think of my right thigh, and the thigh is attached to my right side. So as I twist, I got to move forward a little bit. I let that right thigh go too. So I feel it internally rotate and then roll. I actually roll it forward, and I'll feel my glutes, my muscles in the backside here in that right butt cheek activate to roll me around, and then release them. I'm kind of running into a bolster there, but turning. So your spine's still moving, but the thigh bone is obediently following, rotating inward and over. Exhale. And inhale. And there's a saying in my line of work that you're only as old as your spine. So it's nice to take these spinal movements as well. If you feel you want to just stop and hold anywhere, you can do that. Breathing into your chest, feel the spiral pattern in your body. And remember too, if it feels better for you to move, then you're doing that. That flowing motion can be nice. And then we'll slowly come out of that second side. So the next thing we're going to do while we're partially up, before we go down to the floor, is we're going to do a standing move. And I'm going to move my chair out of the way. I'm also going to take Mr. Bones out of here for a moment. So scooting him over, scooting my chair out of the way. So if you've got a chair at home, get rid of your chair. But grab your block, please. Grab your block, get rid of the chair, and we're going to want a wall or something to hold on to. Actually, you could use your chair to hold on to the back of the chair. My apologies. If you still got it there, you can hold on to the back of the chair. So I'm going to take the block. I'm going to use a wall, and I'm going to turn my right hip to the wall. We'll do the left leg first, and you're going to stand about a half an arm's distance from the wall, lower arm, upper arm, whichever one, and you're going to stand on that block. If you don't have a block, recognize that you could use a stack of books about this size. It doesn't have to be a block. So if you're searching your house for a stack of books, pause for a moment, do that. But it's your pedestal. And I'm going to stand up. I'm going to show you from here first. I'm going to turn so you can see. So what happens is I'm going to hold the wall for support so I don't feel like I'm balancing myself, is that we're going to lift. When you first get up there, that right leg will be hanging and your hips are uneven. The right hip is below the left. What I need you to do is lift that right hip up so that it's the same height as the left hip. So now it's active. In addition to that, lift the heel up and then turn the thigh bone inward just a little bit, like turn the big toes, the right big toe towards the left big toe. Okay, so turn it in a little bit. And then once you've got all that done, lift the hip up, stack your ears over your shoulders and shoulders over the hips. And here's the thing, our leg is a pendulum. We're not going to move the upper body in this one, just the leg. And you're going to come forward and back. And I'm going to turn toward you. You're going to be using the wall, but you're going to come forward as far as you can comfortably and then back. And there's a couple things I see with this, and one is that we might be able to go really far forward and we barely go back. So take your time and watch that back. And then the other thing is that as we go back, a lot of times the shoulders do this. We don't want to hinge from the waist. We want to hinge from our leg, our hip crease down here. Okay, so just focusing on, think of your leg like a pendulum swinging, but it's an active pendulum. And you can feel those muscles working for you because you're plugging the thigh bone into the hip and slightly rotating the thigh inward. Feel that heel lifting up. I lift my heel, but I also sort of feel like I'm pressing my heel down into the earth. So that leg is so active right now. You might start to feel your left leg too, especially that outer hip holding you up. So steady and still in the upper body, not this, although it might feel good. Think of just swinging your leg like a pendulum. And we'll do one more active, and then after that, feels like a little bit of work. Let the leg drop, let even the hip drop, and then swing it again. And notice what that feels like. So you can stand sideways to the wall, a little support, right? But let it swing however it wants. Remember to go behind you. Take it as far and behind and as far in front. Explore your full range of motion through that hip. Feels good. And you can let gravity play with it a little bit. Let it fall. Feel the bones in the leg, the weight of the bones. The earth is calling that leg down. One more swing. And then here's the magic trick. Step off and feel your two legs. And notice we already did one exercise, but do they feel different standing on your two legs now? Is your weight more distributed into one leg or the other? Does one feel longer or shorter? Just noticing all of that. And we'll do that pendulum swing on the opposite side. So if you're at the wall, you'll be turning your left hip to the wall this time. And I go about half an arm's length from the wall. You'll be taking your right foot on the block as a pedestal and then lifting up. And then remember, this first one, the left leg is going to be active. So where it's just hanging, you got to fight gravity a little bit. Lift it up, plug the thigh bone into the hip so your pelvis is squared off, both hips at the same height. Then internally rotate that foot a little bit. Turn the big toe towards that right leg and go for your swing. And you'll feel the muscles in the front and the back of the thigh activating. Notice when you take the leg back, that's your buttocks muscles, your hamstrings, right? And as you take those, so those are your hip extenders, muscles contracting as you take it back. And go slower and feel that. And then the hip flexors are taking it forward. So you're balancing out that movement for the muscles in the leg actively. Watch that we're not bringing the whole body. I have to be careful of that, or sometimes I end up with my shoulders forward. So tall spine, drop that plumb line through the crown of your head and keep that space. You could do the old, I have a book on my head. But the leg is a pendulum, slowly going. And I'm not, notice I'm not doing this, right? Especially this one. I'm exploring. I want to feel those muscles in the back line and the front line. And you may find that one leg has a lot different range of motion than the other. You feel muscles in one side that you don't feel in the other. It's all part of getting to know yourself, the felt sense. And then we'll do one more there, and then we'll drop with gravity. So let that leg hang, feel the weight of your nice, big, strong thigh bone, and let it swing again. Once again, watch that you're not coming forward. Keep your torso, everything still from the hip crease up and swinging. Just giving it a range of motion. One more swing if you'd like. Keeping that nice posture. And then step off your pedestal. Stand on both legs. Don't be surprised if the standing leg gets a little crampy, especially that outer hip, because it's being asked to help support you. That's all normal. So we're turning on different parts of the legs on both legs. So now we're going to come down onto the floor. So if you'd like a blanket or if you like something underneath your head, go ahead and grab that for yourself. We're going to come down. We'll do a few more things specific for the thighs and hip flexors. But first, coming down onto the floor, pull your legs in if you'd like. Draw them all the way in. So there's full flexion, right? And use that to your advantage. You can stretch your low back out. And then taking the feet to the floor for a moment. We're going to do a little bit with an extension of the leg, but we need to find our pelvic tilting first. And this is, by the way, the psoas is one of your hip flexors, so this is a great one for your psoas. So you're going to start with both feet on the floor. The pelvic tilting is inhale, tailbone into the floor, low back arches or lifts. So remember when we were in the chair, the cat-cow, same thing. It's just now you've got the floor supporting you. There's our inhale, front body open, back body compressed. Exhale, back body open, front body compresses as you lift the tailbone. So this is an important part of this movement. We've already done it in the chair, but find that rocking. We sometimes call it pelvic rocking or arch and curl. So we arch the spine away from the floor on the inhale and curl it into the floor on the exhale. And notice if your head is moving too, because this is a tail to tongue movement. If it is, your chin should be coming towards your chest on the inhalation and then away from your chest on the exhalation. And we're going to start to add to this. So take a moment, and next time you exhale, draw the left leg into your body. Squeeze it in. And just take a few breaths there. And then, so this is that hip flexors are active. You want to feel them active. I'm not using my arms. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to inhale. I'm going to rock into that pelvic tilt, but I'm going to lengthen my left leg out. So my back is arched when I first get my left leg out, but then I'm going to exhale, press that low back, low ribs into the floor. And when you do that, notice how you feel that stretch through the top of the thigh. And then do that a few times. And if your thigh needs to be more bent, don't force it down. Oops, microphone. Don't force the thigh down, just let it fall and do a couple pelvic tilts with that left leg long. So this is like I said, a psoas movement, but it's really hip flexors. You're stretching the top of the thigh. And then come back, we'll do one more with just the leg. Take a moment there. Inhale and come into your arch. So tailbone into the floor, low back lifts. On an exhalation, curl the low back and lower ribs into the floor and draw that left thigh towards you. Tighten it. You want those hip flexor muscles active for the moment. Feel your tailbone lift. When you're ready on an inhalation, let the low back, low ribs lift and press that left leg forward. And then keep that left leg extended, but press low back, low ribs into the floor. And just do a couple pelvic tilts with just that left leg long. And notice how once again you're feeling that space right in the front of the left hip bone, right in the front of the hip. Breathe into that space. Acknowledge it. We close it off when we sit. All right, so this next one, a lot of times the tightness can show in our upper body too, so we're going to give you the option of adding the arm. We're still going to work with the left leg. We're doing three on each side. So now as you inhale, take your tilt, but you can also reach your arm overhead. See how that feels, and exhale. Take it back down. We'll just do that a few times and press low back, low ribs into the floor. Inhale, reach the left arm overhead as you're arching. So you can feel that stretch all the way through your outer ribs. And then exhale, take the arm back down as you curl into the floor. So we're still doing the arch and curl. Inhale into the arch. Exhale into the curl. Now let's see how that's working for us. Next time you inhale the arm up overhead and come into your arch, keep the arm and exhale and curl. So flatten the back into the floor. Keep the arm. Arch and curl from here. So a little bit different. You might feel more stretching through the arm. If you need to bend your elbow, you can. But notice that stretching that's going on through the whole left side body. And if the arm's not working for you, if there's too much tightness, then don't add it. Otherwise, we put this whole thing together. So inhale into your arch, just the spine. We're going to go slow. Exhale. On an exhalation, draw that thigh in as tight as you can. Squeeze it in. Feel your front body shorten. Lift your tailbone. And now when we're getting ready for the inhale, we're going to arch the back, but we're going to reach the leg and the arm. So your back is arched and leg and arm on left side are long. But when we're ready, on an exhale, press the low back and low ribs into the floor, flatten the spine into the floor, feel your tailbone lift slightly, and then do a couple of those arch and curls with your left leg and your left arm extended. And just visualize that whole left side opening up. Because again, usually if our hips are in flexion in a seated position, we're also closing off the upper body. The torso pays the price as well. So let your torso feel the spaciousness through the left side as you arch and curl. Last round. And then you can take your arm down to your side. Take that left leg back. And then I am going to switch so I can see you. You can stay right where you are. I'm going to switch so you can see my leg. Sometimes it's nice again too. Take both legs out long. See, can you feel a difference? Does one leg feel juicier or sweeter or just more aware of it? How would you describe your legs to yourself? And maybe you sense something in your upper body now too. Tingling sensations, warmth or coolness, all of that, all and so much more is part of what you feel inside yourself. That interoception is the word we use. You're going to feel yourself from the inside out. And then we're going to do the second side. So place your feet on the floor in constructive rest. Remind yourself of just the basics of the arch and curl. So inhale, tailbone into the floor, lift low back, low ribs. Exhale, low back, low ribs into the floor. You might find your head wants to saunter along. So if so, your head goes away from the chest on the exhale. So tailbone lifts and head goes away from the tailbone. And then the chin comes towards the chest. So basically, the head is moving in the same direction as the pelvis, tilting forward on the inhale and back on the exhale. So we find that basic movement. Now next time you exhale and feel low back, low ribs lift into the floor and tailbone lift, purposely squeeze that right thigh in towards your body. I like to even draw the top of the right foot towards the shin, so it's really active. Get those hip flexors going. Like, how close can you get your thigh to your body? If there was a magnet on the thigh and your ribs, squeeze it in. Am I overemphasizing that? Maybe, but I want you to shorten it beyond where it would be seated. We want to actively shorten those muscles. And now when we're ready on an inhalation, you're going to take that leg and slide it long, but as you do that, let your back arch, because that's what it's going to want to do. And then as you exhale, press the low back, low ribs into the floor. Now keep the leg long and just take some arches and curls with the right leg long. Inhaling, and notice as you exhale, press low back, low ribs into the floor, how you feel that stretch through the top of the right thigh. That's stretching your hip flexors. And then take a moment, relax, slide the foot back, and we'll do another one with just the leg. Take a moment there. Inhale onto the tailbone, into the arch. Exhale, draw the leg in, tighten it towards your body as much as you can. Maybe even take a few breaths there. Feel how active those hip flexor muscles are. And then when you're ready on an inhale, extend it, lift low back, low ribs. Exhale, press low back, low ribs into the floor. And then pelvic tilting with the right leg extended. And I always wait to add the arm because I really want to focus on just the pelvis and the leg, that relationship first, the leg coming into the torso, and then we can look at the relationship of the arm coming into the torso. And then we put it all together because that's what our body is. Our body's relationships. It's not parts. It's all connected. And taking that last one, slide the foot in, take a moment. If you can stay there, and we'll be doing the arm. So right arm, you're going to inhale and reach it up as you arch. Let the back arch and reach the arm because that's what your back and spine is going to want to do when you reach the arm. And then exhale, take the arm down and curl into the floor. So tailbone lifts. Inhale, chin towards the chest, reach the arm. Exhale, chin away from the chest, arm down, tailbone lifts. And notice, so this is a nice one if you're tighter through like your trapezius muscles, all these side body muscles that get tight, especially if we're sitting and we're not breathing into the front surface area the way we should. These intercostal muscles between your ribs, all part of your breathing, the muscles of breath. We'll do one more. Now reach the arm, keep the arm there, and just do those pelvic tilts. And this is the side that for me, is a little bit more of a struggle. This arm is tighter, so I just take my time. Remember, nourish. And that understanding that things may not always feel completely peachy. There may be discomfort. But meet that discomfort with a smile and a fluid breath and just a sense that it's okay. And then we'll take the arm down, take a moment. So we'll be putting the arm and leg together. If for any reason the arm didn't work, just work at the lower half of the body. Inhale into your arch, weights in the tailbone and the tops of the shoulders. As you exhale, curl, draw the leg in actively. Feel those muscles draw in towards your ribs. When you're ready on an inhalation, arch your back and reach your leg and your arm long so you feel that nice arch through your right waist. And then as you exhale, flatten that arch out, but keep the arm and leg long. Inhale, arch. Exhale, curl that right waist into the floor. We'll do one more just like that. Bring the arm and the leg back. Pause for a moment. And inhale into your arch. Exhale, curl, draw the thigh in, actively draw that thigh in. So feel those muscles, the muscles of hip flexion working for you. And then feel them stretch as you inhale and arch the back. And then exhale. Keep the arm and leg long and arch and curl the spine with your breath. Last round. And then bring your arm back and your leg back. So usually for me, my back isn't real. If I've been sitting for a long time, my back is more comfortable with feet on the floor because recognize your legs are in more of that flexion position. So if you tend to sit a lot, what you'll see is when you go to lengthen your legs, your back arches. That's because we're tight in our hip flexors. So see if now you can take your legs out long and just let the back relax. Breathe into your abdomen, and as you're breathing out, let the low back just melt into the floor. Don't force it. Feel your buttocks supported by the floor. So this is our neutral position, but sometimes neutral is more of an arch. So just letting that arch come out with each exhalation, release. You can even shake out the thighs. We've got one more movement we're going to do today for flexion and extension. And this one I'll have you roll onto your right side. So if you're a person that likes to use a pillow or a blanket or something underneath your head, please grab that. I'm going to come onto my side. And I use my arm as a pillow, which you're more than welcome to do. And now we're going to take this leg, same thing, it's going to be a pendulum swing, but we get to be on our right side instead of standing on our pedestal block. So the first thing we want to note is the right leg might go slightly long, but not so long that you feel tippy, and you want to keep your left hip stacked on top of your right. So now if we had a plumb line that fell down from the sky, we want it to go right through like it's holding like a rod. It's going to hold that left hip in place. But then you need to lift your left foot up so that if you were standing, the ankle is now right in line with the hip. The knee, it goes hip, knee, ankle in a straight line. So just to the height, wherever it would be if you were standing. So I got this nice straight line out to my outer ankle. I'm going to keep that, think of that rod, and now I'm going back to a pendulum swing with the legs. So I'm going to try to keep the upper body quiet. As I inhale, I'm going to take the thigh behind me, and then as I exhale, I'm going to swing it forward. And here's the thing, when you swing it forward, it's going to be a lot of work if the leg's extended, so if you'd rather, take it into flexion. Draw that knee in. Inhale, full extension, take it behind you. And then exhale, pull it in. So I'm not going to hold my finger here anymore because I get a little tippy. I like to keep my hand here to sort of help myself out. And into flexion. And into extension. So just get that leg going first. And go as far as you can. What I often see again is people come all the way forward, but they think they're going back, but really your ankles are still pretty much aligned. So go all the way back. Even reach your toes. Think of reaching your toes towards the left front corner of whatever room you're in right now. Get that whole thigh line opened up and then draw it the opposite way. So let your muscles take turns, front and back of the thigh. So when you're back here, you'll feel the hamstrings and the glutes again active. Coming forward, there's your hip flexors. You don't have to do one breath per movement. Sometimes there's a lot of subtlety and understanding of ourselves when we hold, right? So we're doing just that leg first. Take a moment to pause. Because we already did the arm in the other one, I won't do the arm just by itself, but we're going to give you the opportunity to add the arm in. So now as you inhale and you take the leg back behind you, if you don't feel too tippy, instead of reaching it this time, slide. Imagine sliding your hand like you're cleaning your floor. You're going to slide the hand overhead because you want to bring those side body muscles with you. So arm bone is plugged into your shoulder. Reach. Feel that full extension at the top of the inhale. And then as you exhale, if you want, you can bring this leg. And what we usually do is we do a twisting motion. So instead of stopping here, take your, very important, you don't want to drop this arm open because you will stress out the front of the shoulder, those pectoral muscles. So what you do is bring this leg forward. You can drop the foot, take your left hand to your rib cage, and then drop into the twist. So your left arm is protected on your torso. Then we twist on the exhale. So inhaling, lengthening. I love this one. Exhaling, twisting. And we did that twist warm up in the chair. So remembering what it feels like, but now the difference is when we did the twist in the chair, we were having the hip, if you recall, we were having the hip follow along. Now as you twist your shoulders to the left, it feels like your hip is going to the right, that top hip, and that's more of a stretch for that outer hip. But feel it however you feel it. Maybe you don't feel it in your hip. It might be in the ribs or the shoulder. Take a few more on your own at your speed, stopping if you'd like to stop. I like to do a few with that left leg extended. It gets a little more stretch in that outer band of the left hip. Remembering to keep that foot lifted when you're going back and forth, not to drop it down. And taking any resting point that might feel good for you. Remind yourself that we are meant to be mobile and juicy and flowing. But these are some easeful ways that you can bring some of that juice back when we are required to sit to get things done. My favorite place to go after all that is most definitely a fetal curl. You can curl yourself up, rock your spine, or you can undulate in that cat-cow movement. If you'd rather roll onto your back side or onto your front side, wherever you need to be for about 5 to 8 breaths. And decide, do you want to be there in stillness or movement? How can you attune more to yourself right now? Notice what you feel like maybe when you're not moving. What's present when you're still? What comes forward when you're completely still? And then we'll be switching on to our left side for our final movement. You can use your left arm as a pillow or bring a pillow or a blanket with you. Stack your hips, so think of that rod. So we don't want the right hip falling forward or back. Start it right hip right on top of the left. And then you can lengthen your left leg just enough so you don't feel tippy. Take a moment. Get long through your side body, and then you're going to lift the right leg up so that the heel is at the height of the hip. So if I were to lay one of those hard wooden rulers on my leg, I had those, like the long ones, right? But I won't say it, but in Catholic grade school, they did certain things with long wooden rulers. I did say it, didn't I? So from your hip to your ankle, all in a line. And we're going to find that flexion and extension. So take the leg behind you on the inhalation. You can even reach your toes. So even your ankle is going into extension. And then as you exhale, bend the knee and draw it. And I like to draw the top of the foot towards the shin. So ankle can be in flexion extension as well as the knee and the hip. Reaching behind you and drawing it back in. So if you know that you like to take it forward with the leg long, you can do it that way. More of a stretch here, less hip flexors. But experience just that leg first in its full range of motion. And I absolutely, some days I think, oh, what am I going to do for my class today? And then so yesterday was a day I was sitting at my computer for 6 hours working on website stuff. And I woke up this morning and said, I know exactly what I'm going to do for class today. So you got to read your body. That's what you learn to do, read your body. So if we want to add the arm to this, we don't have to, but we can. So imagine sweeping the floor, not lifting it up, but sweep it in front of you. Imagine the arm is plugged into your rib cage. So as you reach your arm and your leg, it's like your body's a piece of taffy. And the hand is reaching one direction and the foot in the other. So and feel that taffy stretching from the center of your torso. And then the exhalation. You can bring the elbow in, the leg forward, and if you want to take the rotation, place your right hand somewhere on your belly or your ribs, not extended, but bend the elbow, just like the knees bent, elbow and knee are both bent, and then roll into the twist. Just readjust my shoulder. Inhale and reach. And exhale and twist. And I find that where I can have my head on my arm for the first part, it's really not comfortable once I start twisting. I need to take my head to the floor. Inhalation, feel that full extension, top of the inhale. Maybe even breathe there. Exhale. Into the rotation. This knee can be bent, or you can take the leg stretch straight if you want to feel more of the stretch in the outer hip. But just go back to that idea of your leg like a pendulum. And the pelvis is staying still. It's the top of the pendulum. Well, it's moving a little bit with the spine now. You can stop and hold and feel. Take my last hold. You can finish your last few movements. Or you're still and just experiencing yourself in stillness. What sort of sensations are there in stillness? When you're ready to release and be done, You can either roll onto your back because we're going to do our relaxation, a little shorter practice today, or you can come onto your side first and explore that fetal curl, find some movement through your spine. I am going to take it onto my back because I'm going to encourage you after all that to come onto your back and just check in with yourself again. Take your legs out long and notice, kind of slowly go out and see, does it feel like you're more able to relax your low back? Because sometimes when we first lay down and we go to extend our knees, our back goes and it lifts. Was that a good noise? It sucks up off the floor. It's like there's a suction cup lifting our back off the floor. That's the tight hip flexors. So when we give them permission to relax, what we notice it in is oftentimes is the back and the shoulders. So the back line of the body. It's not so much in the legs. You might feel it in your legs too if your knees started bent and now they're closer to the floor. That's a good sign. But notice if you feel like you get your low back longer, less arch. Take a few breaths. Feel the weight of your pelvis and your thighs, the lower legs. See if you can sense yourself through your abdomen. Think of all your lovely abdominal organs of elimination and reproduction that appreciate the space you just created. So these practices aren't just about muscles and bones. We work with the torso in a way that we're creating space for the organs of our body. And we work the lower half, we're working with all of the abdominal organs. You can picture them, say thank you. Soft belly breaths. And know that without even trying, every time you breathe in, your diaphragm is contracting and pressing down into those abdominal organs and giving them a little sweet hug, sort of a little smushy hug. And as you breathe out, the diaphragm draws back into the rib cage, leaving all that spaciousness for the abdominal organs to just spread themselves out. So this wave-like motion that flows through our abdomen with our breath. And just continuing to relax the weight of the thighs. Let the toes turn out if they enjoy that. Keeping your presence and your awareness for about 5 to 8 more breaths from the toes to the rim of the pelvis, the abdomen, the lower half of the body, abdominal cavity and legs. We're going to shift our awareness into the chest cavity. You don't have to breathe there if it's right at the surface for you to be able to breathe into your chest, your lungs more, your rib cage, do that. Otherwise, just image or experience yourself through your upper body, your upper torso. Think of all of your organs housed within the rib cage, protected by your rib cage. Again, when we sit, they get compromised. They don't have the space and the movement that they automatically receive when we breathe these full diaphragmatic breaths in and out. And feeling that movement. Sense the way the lungs fill, Can you feel them? Are they filling from top to bottom or bottom to top? And do they empty from bottom to top or top to bottom? And every breath out is just an opportunity to let the earth hold you, feel the ground. The body in its most neutral, natural position. Feeling that healing energy of the earth on its whole backside. Creating spaciousness and wave-like forms throughout the whole torso. And now you can let those ripples of movement flow through your arms just as you let them flow through your legs. Breathe in the chest and see if you can feel the continuation of energy from the upper lobes of the lungs and the chest into the shoulders and down the arms and into the palms of the hands. Every breath in is an invitation for spaciousness. Every breath out is an opportunity to let go just a little bit more. And then see where you want to bring your awareness back into the thighs, maybe the wholeness of your torso. Feeling the way that all of these body parts are interrelated. Instead of feeling or sensing tightness through the front body, we feel this freedom in this space. Feel the support underneath the back body. As you feel ready to move, just bring your awareness into your toes. You can wiggle your toes. Notice which toes you can visualize and which ones you can't. Rotate your ankles. And see your fingers. You can open and close your hands. Can you see your thumbs and all your fingers? Rotate the wrists. And then any other movements that your body and mind will appreciate right now. Maybe it's that full body stretch, that yawn, tighten the muscles and lengthen them simultaneously on a big inhalation. And then when you're ready, sigh out your mouth and let it all just drop. Let it be. You're welcome to stay here longer for your relaxation, or if you know you'd like to come up to finish class, you can roll to one side first and pause. Join me in a seated position. Maybe that seated position leads you into a meditation. Take that space. If it's offered to you, please take it. Explore. Thank you for doing this practice with me today to undo what we do to ourselves when we sit. Peace and love. Namaste.